Every day, the vast majority of us spend hours on social media, often without giving it a second thought. But for how much of that time are we truly in control? To what extent are we making conscious and deliberate choices? And when are we merely reacting to the notifications that we see and to the algorithm fueled feeds that are designed to grab and hold our attention? I've been researching and reflecting on these questions about social media and free will for the past few years because I want to help others and myself cultivate a healthy relationship with the digital world. And because I want to figure out how to leverage my position as the director of marketing for Notre Dame's McGrath Institute for Church Life to develop content inspired by principles of media ecology, an idea which I'll cover more later. Now, usually when someone makes a similar warning, they follow it up with a suggestion to ditch the smartphone and/or get offline altogether. I'm not going to do that. I'm not looking to make sweeping dismissals of social media or to add to your sense of guilt. We're all anxious enough as it is. But in the same breath, anything that consumes so much of our time not only deserves but demands a closer look. I want us to be able to use social media, but I want us to be able to use it on our own terms. To that end, I will highlight a few key elements that inform the relationship between social media and free will, what our use of social media means for our ability to exercise free will, as well as practical advice for how to reclaim control. To set the stage, it's important to underscore the scale of social media usage today. On average, people spend over 2 hours every day on social media, a number that grows to 3 or 4 hours for younger users. Those are just the social media averages. Worldwide, internet users spend an average of 400 minutes, nearly 7 hours each day online, according to a recent study. At this level, we are no longer talking about a new set of tools, but a new way of life. Further complicating matters, research increasingly connects our heightened social media use with waning mental health. We're experiencing generational anxiety, seemingly at an unprecedented scale. With that rather alarming context in mind, we must remember what happens with all that time. Every like, scroll, and notification turns our attention in specific directions. We do retain the ability to decide how to engage with a particular notification, but the choices have been algorithmically selected and artificially limited. So, to what extent are we still the ones deciding? This brings us to Catholic media theorist Marshall McLuhan, whom I believe provides a framework for a modern solution. Building on his famous idea, the medium is the message, McLuhan argued that the form of media itself shapes how we think about and interact with the world. He encouraged us to think about media in ecological terms. This means that social media doesn't just transmit information, it actually changes the way we perceive reality. I think it's safe to say that we have all experienced this effect to some extent, whether personally or vicariously, in the way that our perception of situations, not to mention our mood, changes based on the content we consume. To better explain the digital environment we now live in, if such a thing can be said, I want to touch on what's known as the attention economy. We live in a world where attention has become one of the most valuable commodities. Social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook are designed to capture and then keep our attention. Their one goal is to maximize the time we spend on their platforms, because the longer we stay, the more data they can collect, the more ads they can serve, the more people they can reach. These platforms use complex algorithms that learn our preferences, habits, and emotional responses, and then feed us content that's optimized for engagement, often before we even know what we want to see. Hence the unsettling mind-reading effect of those suggested ads that we see. Social media is not an inert force. It isn't a neutral player. It actively shapes our behavior, even our sense of time and reality, turning us into passive participants. We're being coaxed into loops of self-perpetuating engagement, where notifications drive our actions and influence what we believe, how we spend our time, effectively supplanting our free will with a pre-selected list of options. With every passing hour, we increasingly become the object of their narrative, rather than the subject of our own. McLuhan argued that each medium comes with its own biases, shaping how we interpret reality. Social media's biases are on speed and immediacy, leaving no time to pause or room to reflect. Over time, By reacting rather than choosing with intention, we actually dull our ability to make real, thoughtful decisions. Social media conditions us to respond quickly without thinking. It likes us to remain reactive. In contrast to the behavior promoted by our digital world, the true nature of free will is rooted in our ability to pause, reflect, and choose. So, to combat this loss of free will, we must first carve out enough space for authentic and thoughtful decision making in our digital lives. Moments to pause, to reflect, and to choose intentionally. One simple yet effective way to reclaim this control is to severely limit your notifications by turning off all non-essential notifications, and most notifications are indeed non-essential. You can create a little breathing room to decide whether or when to engage. Block off time for social media, setting a timer if need be, and then stop. Even if you don't think you need to, try it out and see how you feel afterward. You might be pleasantly surprised. For an added layer of defense, I recommend liberally deploying Do Not Disturb mode, turning off all social media notifications and/or deleting the apps from your phone. Limiting yourself to desktop use adds an extra step and thus encourages more intentionality. When limiting notifications and batching work aren't enough, I've also found value in using a brick device, which provides an additional moment of pause. This isn't an ad, I just genuinely think it's a good option due to its physicality and inversion of incentives. In other words, it de-incentivizes the use of distracting apps or apps that you have designated as distractions. Regardless of the mechanism used, we have to create that space. When building in moments to pause, whether through limiting notifications, setting specific times for social media, or taking breaks entirely, you give yourself the space to reflect. This helps you reclaim your ability to choose rather than simply to react. This is especially important in the mornings, but it certainly applies to every moment throughout the day. Social media is designed to harness your attention, creating an illusion of choice that can undermine your free will. But by understanding how these platforms work and by taking steps to reclaim your attention, you can combat the negative effects as you work to harness social media for good. So here's my challenge. Make one major change right now after you're done watching this video. Adjust your phone settings, limit your notifications, delete an app, buy a brick, whatever it is. Take one small step toward retaking control of when and how you use social media. Give yourself that time to pause and to think. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please share with someone who would benefit from it as well. And if you have any favorite strategies for taking back control of your own digital life, let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested in learning more. Let's commit to helping each other make more intentional, meaningful choices in our world that is saturated with digital noise. Finally, for in-depth investigations on media ecology and its impact on free will, as well as to read more of my own research on the theology of communication as it gets published, be sure to visit mcgrath.nd.edu. That's mcgrath.nd.edu. Follow the McGrath Institute at McGrathND on social media. That's at McGrathND on all major social media platforms, but not before you change those social media settings. I'm serious. I think that should be the first thing you do after watching this video. Thanks again for watching and take care.